Welcome to NinonSpeaks. I'm Ninon de Rosa, and we have an absolutely incredible show coming up. As you all probably realize by now, I never know any of my guests. I don't pre-interview them. I don't know. I know maybe they're in the film business or some business, but I really don't know too much, which I absolutely love, because then we get the spontaneity of my questions and their answers. In the meantime, I also I don't introduce my guests, so I'm going to turn you over to AJ. AJ does all the introductions. She knows who they are, what they are. She knows all about them. I know nothing. AJ, take it away.
Hi, Ninon. It's lovely to be with you again on your NinonSpeaks show. I am so thrilled. Today we have such a fun show. We have George VK from Filmmaker Secrets. He is a story-driven director of photography. He's a filmmaker as well, originally from Kazakhstan. Now he resides in the United States of America. So hello, George. And then also we have Mad Max Patel from England. He is a singer and an actor and a performer. And I'm just so happy to welcome both of you gentlemen. Hello.
Hello. Good to be here with you.
It's great to have both of you. You're both in different parts of the world, but the same part, because it's a world. And we're all in, I think we found out these last 2 years that we have one world. We all did the same thing. We all stayed in our homes. We're all having vaccinations now. So I think we've all become kind of one, but we are still individual people. So anyway, George, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Nina. How about?
You're looking fantastic. You're looking amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And now you are a filmmaker. Now,
yeah.
What exactly is a filmmaker? Because we have directors, we have producers, executive directors, we have everything. And now all of a sudden we've got this, it's been coming out quite a lot lately, filmmakers. So you make films.
That's right. I think first and foremost, any filmmaker is a storyteller, and I think anyone with a voice and an opinion can be a storyteller. It's just not everyone has the courage to tell their story. A filmmaker, in a broad sort of surface level way, is someone that absolutely loves to tell stories and to tell other people's stories. There are a lot of specifications, a lot sort of paths that people go on as a filmmaker, but as a general term, a filmmaker is someone that absolutely enjoys to cultivate that human condition and to tell stories that truly make an impact and change the world.
Absolutely. And I think the filmmaker is one that also goes from the beginning to the middle to the end of the story of what it exactly is. And they put all this together, because you have your beginning, everybody's intrigued, then you have your middle, which everyone's wondering, which way is this all going? And then it slowly goes into the conclusion as to what you've put together. So I think it's an amazing task. And I often, think of what when they go home at night after shooting a day, what do they go home to? Do they think about the next day? Do they think about what happened today? What am I going to do tomorrow? Is that how it kind of works, George?
I think you absolutely love your craft to the point of obsession where you just cannot stop thinking it. Even dream about it when sleeping. It's something that filmmakers are constantly living and breathing and eating. It's something that you catch the bug and you just can't let go, and you're constantly in this world. As soon as you catch that bug, it is something that is always on your mind, definitely.
It is. And I also think it's something that the wife or the girlfriend or whomever is thinking, when is this going to be over and I get him back or I get her back? I think that's amazing. Hey, Max, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Ninon. How are you?
I'm absolutely amazing. I love your background. You really got it. I love it. I love it. So now, since I haven't spoken to you or seen you before, what are you into? What are you doing?
Well, let's go back a little bit, if I may. I started off as a singer and entertainer, and I've done that for about 40 years. But this pandemic has probably changed the lives of a lot of people.
Yes.
And it's certainly changed my life coming out of the lockdown. The question is, do I want to go in front of a live audience, and do I know who's been vaccinated, who is carrying what kind of bug, if any? You know, I mean, I may be a little bit harsh in there, but I don't really want to take that risk.
Is that because you feel that you're an older person? I mean, I'm an older person. I don't particularly, it doesn't bother me at all. It's never bothered me, and I've never shut down any of my shows.
No,
they
no.
continued. But does it bother you to the extent of not wanting to, what you just said?
It didn't bother me in that sense, but over the years, experience has taught me that, you know, I work on a holiday resort quite a lot. So you find that when I say holiday resort, I mean...
Which holiday resort is that be?
It would be in Goa, in India. So
Oh,
a lot of people coming over, mainly Brits, and they would come to the show. And again, through no fault of their own, they've just spent maybe 11 hours on an airplane with 300 passengers, and one of them, let's say, is carrying a flu bug.
yeah.
And that's recycled amongst the passengers. Believe it or not, because I'm a Patel, I'm almost Jewish. So anything that's going for nothing, I'm having it. And I
know the Patels. I know the Patels are a very, very extremely large entity in the Indian world. And you are indeed. Yes, there's a tremendous amount of you out there.
And if there's something going for nothing, we grab it. So when there's a flu bug, I tend to grab that very quickly. And so over the years, I should have learned that these bugs, with a live audience, you catch that. And during lockdown, I kind of reevaluated my career and where I want to go. And I, over years and years and years ago, at schools, did acting and whatever. I never really took it up professionally. I have a son or two sons. The eldest one is an actor, and talking to him through lockdown, Dad, why are you looking so down? I said, I'm just, you know, like everybody, was a little bit stir crazy, no direction. Still, at that point, I was nervous about going in front of live audiences. He said, well, why don't you go back to doing essay work?
Essay?
What the hell's an essay?
An essay is something you do at school that you have to present to a teacher or something like that. Last time I heard about essays, I don't know, is there something new now?
Exactly. So he said, look, years and years and years ago, you did extra work. And I said, oh, okay, extra work.
Yes.
So from that, we started, and I got in touch with a few agents, and all of a sudden, found myself being called upon to go and do a little bit of extra work here, a bit there. And in a very, very short space of time, I started ticking boxes, you know, big boxes. And the first big one I ticked was from over there, not far from you guys, Disney. And
okay, come on, out with it.
There's a clue. I'm not allowed, obviously, because of the NDAs that we get forced to sign, but Disney kind of stitch you up on a pretty big contract to say,
yes,
not allowed to reveal this.
George is nodding his head saying, yes, he knows all about that.
Yeah, absolutely. But okay, there was a little clue there in the background. But so I spent 5 weeks on and off on that project. For Disney, and then just as I was coming away from there, I had a call for a Warner Brothers production, and that's quite a big franchise as well.
Yeah, not bad in the film business, right, George?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's been a hell of a ride. It's been a hell of a ride in 5 months.
But it sounds like a good ride, though.
Absolutely. Ninon, I've met some fabulous artists. They're gods. They're gods in that world. George will bear witness. You guys have seen them. And I tell you what, I've come to realize some of these guys are absolutely beautiful people.
Oh, they are amazing. I just
and
want to
work so hard.
interject. I just want to interject one thing for our audience. If you don't know what Max was talking about regarding extras, an extra is somebody. Well, George, you can explain this to me. What is an extra?
Yeah, an extra is actor that is typically kind of filling the background, making sure that the scene feels real. So they're an added environmental actor that is creating the reality of the scene. So they're not necessarily someone that has dialogue or any particular big part in the project, but they are filling the reality of the scene.
Absolutely, and they get paid a certain amount, which is, I think, is something between 138 and 160 or something, and then you get overcharged, and it normally is a SAG thing. These days, I think they're waiving a lot of SAG stuff going on. So now we know for our audience that a lot of them say, well, I don't want to do extra work because I'll never be able to get out of it. But that's not true. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because Max has just told us a story, which then he turned around and said, well, now I've got the boxes. Now everybody's thinking, oh, what is a box? Well, a box is a form. Then you can tick, you want to play this part or you want to play that part, which means, I believe, that you're now getting a talking part, or you're getting a part that's going to be known in the movie or in the whatever they're doing. And so that explains it a little bit to our audience, that that's what that all is, because you're talking now. Also, I've got to go back to Max. It's because of your talking to your son, this is where you ended up.
Absolutely. And thanks to him and one or two other people who encouraged.
Of course, he started it. He was the one that was out there, hey, Dad, come on, get with it.
Exactly. And I have to say, my youngest son, who's doing my sound over there at the moment, do you want to come and say hi? Is he allowed to come and say hi?
Oh, yes. Well, we don't have a release for him. So
okay.
I've got my producer's going, no.
Thank you so much for the offer, though. But I do want to ask George and have a little bit of highlight for him so he can have a platform and talk. George, tell us about you and the message that you would like to share with the world.
Sure. Yeah. Since we're on the topic, beginning at the top of the pandemic, I started to do a lot of research because as I felt this call to help filmmakers. So I went out to different filmmaking forums and Facebook group, try and find out what it is stopping filmmakers from telling the stories that they enjoy. And I copied all the comments and put them into a generator that's about the most common used words in the largest font. And by far, the three big words were pandemic, money, funding. So I realized that filmmakers were telling these stories to themselves of why I can't create. And that really dug deep into my soul. And I have this absolute need to share with the filmmakers and encourage them and show them ways in continuing to create despite the pandemic, even if you don't have funding, you don't have the money, you don't have the resources. Right, these days the resources are within our reach. There's so many ways that you can tell stories that there's literally absolutely no limit.
You're absolutely right, George. I love what you're saying, George, because I think this has created, the pandemic has not actually been a downer. Has it not created a tremendous amount through the internet, actually, that's become more popular than it was, though it was always popular, but hasn't it, people are now creating a little differently and creating more?
Definitely, yeah. And I believe filmmakers have the power to evoke emotion and inspire thoughts. Importantly, they have this power to really influence change in this world. And once you realize that you have that power, there are no limits. And it's not about the resource that you have or you don't have. It's all about being forceful. Like, go out there and
use your resources. You don't put a limit. It's funny you say that, because so many people put a limit on themselves. And they do it themselves, because we're only responsible for one thing in this entire world, is ourselves. And until we're actually in line of what we want to do, where we're going and what we're having, I don't know how we can help anybody else, because if we're not in line, how can we help anybody else? And you're so right. And that's especially in the film business, George, because in the film business, it's a creative business. It's a business that sometimes it's not going to go according to plan. Things change. Is that correct?
Definitely, yeah. You have to be adaptable. You have to sort of be, one step ahead. You have to be one chapter ahead of the people trying to serve and get your message across. There is absolutely no excuse. You are enough. You can do it. There's just the block right here in your mind.
Yeah.
And if you can get over that, then you're capable of many great things, I believe.
And have you done that? Have you kind of created, since the lockdown and everything else, you've kind of gone in a different, not really a different direction, but going a different format, maybe we would call it?
Definitely. I think I've really, the pandemic's really put a lot of things into perspective for me in my personal life. And I think what united everybody around the whole world, I'm sure Mad Max can attest to this is you truly started to understand what is important to you in life. The lockdowns and the cancellations put everything into perspective, and you start to understand what do you truly value in life, what do you want to get out of life, because you just have one life to live. So why not make it the most impactful experience that you can.
I love the message you're giving, George, because you're giving people out there that have probably been rather down and rather out, and my world has closed down and I now lost all these jobs that I was going to be in this film and that film and doing all this stuff, and all of a sudden it's closed down. But you're giving them a message that this is a time, or has been a time, to recreate yourself and to understand that, okay, so now I don't have that, let's go in another direction and do this, but I still haven't lost all my talents. I still have what I'm doing within me. So now I've just got to put them out a different way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what you've achieved that.
I believe I'm on the path to achieving that. I'm still finding my voice. I'm still finding the thing that really makes message truly resonate with people. And the words of gratitude from people that I interview on my podcast have been totally reigniting that spark inside of me to continue to tell stories and to tell stories of other people, see how they can out their success and how they can bring up others behind them. Oftentimes, especially independent filmmakers, feel like they're so alone, such a lonely sort of field. But it's also such a collaborative field where you have to seek out the people. You have to surround yourself with people that are better than you, because that's the only grow. If you continue to stay stagnant, that's exactly where you're going to be. I just came back from an event where Tony Robbins spoke, and the thing that keeps resonating in my mind is where focus focus goes, energy flows. And yes. I truly believe that's just a perfect summation of life, of a way of living.
You're so right. It's so funny because I was listening to a program last night. I don't know how I got onto this program. It was all about the brain. And it was all about, and one thing that really stuck with me, which I always tell people is, and also this is for you, Max, as well, is when you put something out there, or you've got something out there, you've got to understand what it is, but what energy you put out there is exactly what's going to come back. And I got involved with this. I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning listening to this program because it was fascinating, of how we can use our brain and how we put things out there and how we can manifest what is happening and what's going on. And Max, you just did the same thing as George. Both of you have done the same thing in kind of the same direction, but you now, Max, have become a movie star. and George has become a creator on the internet and everything else out there, and realizing that you have a family, right, George? You got very close to your family?
Yeah.
Because I got that a little bit in the message, that you realize you had a family and you're taking care of everything, and sort of, they can help you create as well, and put this into perspective.
Exactly. And my situation is I immigrated to the United States in 2001, like Agent Dean mentioned at the top. Being an immigrant in the United States, no language, completely foreign to the culture, and majority of my family is still back in Kazakhstan. I haven't seen in 2 years with the restrictions and travel and everything. But I'm married ago, and as soon as you have that threshold step over where you realize, oh, I have to take my life into my own hands, into my control, then everything that is unimportant starts to kind of go sideways, and you are committing yourself to this life partner, to this family that you're building. So I'm really excited about the next steps in my career, but more importantly in my personal life with my wife, getting closer and closer with my family.
I love it. You know, I love to hear all that. I love to hear how sort of you're including her and you're bringing her in, because you know, when there's two of you together, I was married for 29 years and we worked together very, very well. We were very successful because we kind of worked hand in hand. There was no competition. I was the woman, he was the man. It was no, you know, he's better than I am or he makes more than, we had none of that. And it was just a whole thing. And if you get the right partner, it works. Max, do you have a partner?
I do indeed. And in the words of the song, she is the wind beneath my wings.
Oh,
Wow.
Seriously.
that is absolutely beautiful.
As a singer and a entertainer, she's had to put up with a lot over the
But
years.
they do, all the wives or the husbands have to put up
Absolutely.
with this. It
Yeah.
creates some environment that the actors and people, producers, we put ourselves into. And it's like when we make a movie, we're in lockdown for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 6 months. We're kind of in lockdowns before the lockdown ever started.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, never has the words or the lyrics of a song been truer than in our case. She has often been in the shadows, in the background, but always supportive. Sometimes my biggest critic, but hey, that's what makes you go forward. So
But that's the partner. That's kind of the
absolutely.
partnership in a
Yes.
relationship. Because if they're always going to go, oh, you're darling, you're lovely, and you're wonderful, and they don't kind of criticize you. I mean, it might be nice to hear all those beautiful words, but at the same time, you're not moving forward.
So
So
you don't move forward.
no, you don't, because you've got to have that criticism. Because and I don't know if probably both of you feel the same way about this, but I don't like looking at myself. I don't like to look at my shows. I don't like to look at what I've done.
Absolutely correct.
we oh, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. And then when we don't see it, we can't correct ourselves. Is that right, George? Are you the same way?
I think maybe halfway. I am that way. It's kind of interesting to look at yourself introspectively, even the work that you do. I like to look back at work that I did, 5 years or 10 years ago, and compare.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think that's a great way to see progress, because without progress, there is no happiness. I think seeing where you were and where you came from is so important, especially being an immigrant. Seeing the opportunity or the lack of that I had back home, coming over to the United States. It's like a whole new world. It's almost like, I started a completely new life as soon as I immigrated, and everything from that point on has been absolutely different and
Absolutely.
inspiring.
Yeah, I'm absolutely sure. But it's funny, when you're in the situation where you were in Croatia, you don't know the difference, because that's the only thing you've been brought up in, and that's the only thing that you kind of see. And it's like I'm watching a lot of the Middle East. I lived in the Middle East for a couple of years, and a lot of the well-to-do families send their children to different universities. So those children now bring back what's happening, there and what's happening where they live, and it's so different. And that's where we get this change going on, and probably a lot of arguments and problems.
Speaking of change, I'm sorry to interrupt, Ninon. We have about 2 minutes left on the show. We've got to start wrapping it up.
Oh my goodness, we've got to start wrapping up. Okay, did you want to ask anything, AJ? Let me give you the stand.
Well, thank you so much, Ninon. I just wanted to thank our guests, and I'd like them to both let us know how their audience and future fans can contact them.
George?
Definitely, yeah. First of all, really quickly, thank you so much for this forum. This has been an amazing discussion. I wish we could keep talking for hours, but
we'll have you back on again.
That would be wonderful,
lovely.
Ninon. Thank you.
Yes.
You always find me on filmmakersecret.com. I have information up there, or Instagram, across all the social media, Filmmaker Secrets.
And what was the name of the company you go under?
So it's Filmmaker Secrets. Yeah, filmmakersecrets.com.
Okay, filmmakersecrets.com. I want to make sure everybody understands that. Okay, let's go over to Max.
Well, I was hoping that I would have a madmax.com, but I don't. So I think that already exists. But if people would like to get in touch, I have very recently, probably about 2 weeks ago, learned about Instagram. And hey, come on, I'm old.
So am I.
So find me on Instagram. It's MaheshMax862. So find me on there.
Absolutely wonderful. I was thinking you could try to become Mad Max.
I'm very mad.
Try that one. You could be really mad. Madmax.com.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and I did promise myself, because this would never have come about. This for me, that you have a friend somewhere or a colleague named Georgette Dante.
Yeah, Georgette Dante. Yeah, she's one of our entertainment directors.
Right. Well, she was the lady who approached me over a year ago when I was doing my online shows, singing songs to the world out there, and she was the one that sort of put me in touch and said, I think you would be good on this, and please, I'd love to, a heartfelt thank you to Georgette for
thank you, Georgette Dante. On that, we're going to have to close out because I think we're going a little bit over time, and I know AJ is having a total heart attack saying, Nina, wrap the show up. I know that's happening. I just want to thank our audience out there. I also want to thank George, and I want to thank Max for coming on. Very interesting, fascinating. We will have you both back again because I think you've both got a lot more to say and everything else. And a shout out, hey, Georgette Dante, thanks a million. George and Max, absolutely amazing. We shall be back soon with another guest. You take care. AJ, you take care too. Thanks a lot. Thanks a million, guys. Take care.